This is what's going on. My name is DeCarlo Sweeting, and my co-host is
George Missick.
Mr. Missick. How are you today?
I'm great. It's a great day to be alive in the land of the living.
Yes, sir.
Closer to the 50th anniversary. Big 50.
you know. So, how's the family? Everybody good over there?
Everyone better than me.
Boy, I know how you feel, son. That's how they be living.
Yep.
What's wrong with that?
Always better than the man.
Yep. Well, anyway, let's get into it. Let's find out what's going on in the news.
Audio Jungle.
So, this was an interesting week that we had that went by. The budget report is out, and the Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis, had some interesting words, I should say, for the Grand Bahama Port Authority. This was very shocking to me that he was ready and willing and able to make this bold statement. And the statement that he made was that says that the Prime Minister says that the Hawksville Creek Agreement economic model which is to attract foreign direct investment does not work. And the Port Authority is ineffective. Now, those are some strong words. They're some fighting words, Judge. Right after Mr. Ian Roll of the Port Authority saying that how they have over $1 billion of investments, future and past.
Right.
What you think about that?
Every time I hear that, I mean, this, the second year into the term? Third? Yep. He just came to that realization. He should have had a position on that before when they were running and campaigning for the government. But I find first off, it's an old kind of statement and argument. We saw it before, I think, particularly after St. George died. And you remember there was a St. George and then Sir Jack. And then there was this fight over the port. And I think at one point the government was talking about taking out and buying out. And there was a little back and forth with the family wondering how it would survive. So I find it curious, the statements coming now in this budget that's picking on the port, like you said, it's fighting words because it came out of nowhere. Like for something that has been around for a long time, for it to jump back up now and hit the headlines, and like as if the government now has an active agenda all of a sudden against Grand Bahama. It makes particularly Grand Bahamians very skeptical, because all of a sudden now you care about us, right? Where Grand Bahama has been in this situation back and forth with the port for a long time, government, everyone trying to jockey for control. So either, to me, kind of sends a message that, okay, maybe Ian Roll is right. Some big things are about to kick for Grand Bahama. And the government is looking at it and saying, boy, we need a bigger piece of that pie. Let's rock the boat a little bit. Even if they're not trying to do what he's talking about, it's probably setting the stage for some sort of bargaining, or to try and get a bigger involvement in what's going on in Grand Bahama. When nothing was happening and nothing was on it, no one was saying anything. We're just waiting for them to fix the airport and the hotels, and all of a sudden, bam, like you said, Ian Roll makes this announcement with all this investment in Grand Bahama, and government sees things happening, and now it's like, oh yeah, well, this model isn't working. The timing is suspect for me more than anything else. I have a lot to say on this subject, but I won't take up all the time saying it. I have my firm views on it.
Hey, you are here to speak your mind. We ain't got no censorship or nothing else going on here. If you feel a certain way, because I can interrupt here because Fred Mitchell, the chairman of the PLP, was saying they ain't do nothing. Say all of these investments will have going on. The government did this. This ain't had nothing to do with them. So I know what Ian Roll talking about. That's this Fred Mitchell now. This over the Labor
Right.
Day holiday. So
Mm.
what do you say about that?
Well, I mean, I don't know who initiated who did what. Whether it's the government or whether it's the port. I mean, I don't know how much government could have done it because the government, under the Hawksbill Creek Agreement, if you're going by the terms of the Hawksbill Creek Agreement, the port is responsible for free port. I mean, the buck stops there. And this has always been something as a Grand Bahamian that we feel that has always kept Grand Bahama back or from reaching its full potential. This standoff, this fight between the government and the Port Authority. Because as you know, the Port Authority is supposed to be responsible for all kinds of things, taxi plays, communications, all these different things are in the agreement. But in reality, the government has always been saying, hey, no, you can't have that. We need to get in there and get a piece of these taxes. And so it's either you have the agreement or you have an agreement or you don't. But there's always been kind of watering down of the agreement. And you have to look at it from both sides of the coin. But I think, like I said before on a previous show, if you look at some of the other islands, government all of a sudden is concerned about Grand Bahama. What have you done for these other islands in the Bahamas? I mean, they're not booming with, you don't have a stellar record of turning these islands around, that you didn't have a port and you didn't have anyone else to fight with. So for them to get in now and all of a sudden, you want to take, we've been asking for help, assistance, or trying to find a workable solution. But I think it's more than anything else is this incestuous love-hate relationship between the port and the government that has never really been addressed. And I think that causes, you ever walk into someone's house and you see the husband and wife fighting? They invite you over for dinner, you get in there, you hear him shouting to pick up the clothes, she's shouting back. All of a sudden, you need to go pick up your children from school. Oh, I forgot I left the pot on the stove back home. I'm coming back, right? You don't want to be around that. And I think that happens to a lot of investors coming into Grand Bahama to do business. They go to speak to the port, and then the government, someone from government call them, hey, you need to come talk to us, or vice versa. And I think that turns off, to me, if I'm an investor, that'll turn me off. Like, who robbing the train? Who running the ship here, right? Now, I got to pay you. Hold on, who this boy is calling me? I need to pay him too. I need to go talk to the government, and I need to talk to y'all. Like, it makes for bad, messy business relationship. And I think unfortunately, the victims of all of that are the residents of Grand Bahama, because a lot of these things, you make these public statements. What are you saying privately? What have you been saying privately? How you doing? But I don't, it's just hard for us as Grand Bahamians to really take a lot of things that we hear genuinely, as if all of a sudden someone is genuinely concerned about us, right? All these are old, like I said, this issue dates back for a long time ago, long time ago.
Now, I interrupt you there now. How is it that when one of the founding members, St. George, was alive and kicking, we didn't have all of these issues? Investments was coming in, Freeport was booming, things was things. Mm-hmm. How now all of a sudden, since his passing, we can't get it right? What was this man the driving force in what's going on in Grand Bahama? And even if he was, why wasn't the government at that time, and while he was alive, there was two governments.
Yep.
Why weren't they getting all up in the business? I do this, look at me. Back then, it was all the Port Authority. The Port Authority do this, the Port Authority do this. That's what everything was. Now, why are we having this issue?
Well, because St. George and Hayward them were bossing, right? They had their stuff together. They knew, they had their plan, they had their vision, they had the money, they had everything. It was there, and so they knew what they were doing. Most businesses, you see the head die, you die. Particularly, I don't want to say the man because that might rub some people. But when you see that happen, a lot of times, what happens? Out of 9 out of 10 times, you see the children can't really pick up the slack and really sustain this business or carry this vision forward as the persons who had it before. And that's what happened with the port. You had St. George died, St. Jack died. You had these families clamoring over, looking for money, children who probably had an easy, privileged life, wasn't. And then they usually, once in a blue moon, you'll find someone who comes in and takes the company to the next level. But it was more like a family business. I think it would have been better if you just had more board, like Apple or something, where you have like board of directors and so forth. It's not a family business, but when you have this family dynamics, there's a lot of infighting within the family. There was a lot of mess particularly after St. George died. Call it what it was. The wife was, you got a lot of fighting going on. And how do you successfully run almost, I want to say a country, because you're running a whole island. That's what their job was. When you're distracted with all of this litigation and infighting, and this one want this, that one, and one child, there was a lot of drama that's going on. And I don't think at that point, that was the point where I think the government should have really stepped in, or had a right to step in and say, listen, y'all, this look like a hot mess. Y'all too distracted. Y'all too busy. Let me take the reins. They didn't do it then. Right now, people have their act together. Even if they're not together, they're quiet now. So they're running, things are moving. So I think it's a more difficult, like I said, the timing of it all, to me, is what I'm mostly concerned about. Why now? Because there's been a problem. Y'all didn't touch it then. No one did it. Successive governments. We have a new prime minister, but we definitely had the same party that had, and a lot of the same players were at the table. What were you saying then? Fred Mitchell was there. Brave Davis was there. A lot of they were involved all along. These people wake up one day, go in the news and say things as if they weren't in charge of the reins for a lot of these periods that we've been steadily declining. And that's what I take of. If someone else says it, fine, but you were there. Why?
But what can the government do about this? It's kind of, it's strange to me that Brave Davis all of a sudden will come and talk about the Hawksbill Creek Agreement Act. He specifically spoke about that. And he is saying, don't put nothing in his thing. No words in his mouth. He's saying that it does not work. If it does not work, what is his plans or his government's plan to fix it so that it does work? Does he have a plan, or is he just showboating, trying to call them out, be messy about the whole situation just to make the Port Authority look bad?
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head. If my plan doesn't work, what's your plan? And this is my company, this is my business. Now you can tell me how to run my business. Now you can tell me how you run your business over there. So if you say, listen, the only thing you can say is you need to go all together. We could do a better job as a government running Grand Bahama than Port Authority is running Grand Bahama presently. And to say that, then we do have a track record. Now we have to look at what you're doing with the countries that you have, the places that don't have a port. What you doing with Abaco? What you doing with Andres? What you doing with Cat Island? Let's start with Cat Island. What we doing there, right? Because that's what we need to look to see that you could do a better job running this than what the port is doing. So don't just tell me there's someone doing a bad job. And that's how we get a lot of the governments to change, because politicians like to tell you what someone else is doing or wait for them to mess up. And then there's no real plan as to what you're going to do or what you do differently. So that's where you should start with that. But initially, I want to know the efforts that you made behind closed doors, because these public speeches, like you said, the cause stir and ruckus and sick the dogs on the port, and show me what it is your plan and vision is and how you've been thinking this out. Don't just come throw a statement out there and we can get back to you later. Sound like you still thinking about this.
Well, we can have to see what they do, because once again they got us in the middle, just like little children with mommy and daddy. Mm-hmm. And ain't getting no better no matter who in charge. But we're going to take a commercial break and we're going to come right back.
Welcome to Karen's Kitchen, where we specialize in Bahamian dishes such as fried fish, crack conch, crab soup, and much more. We're located on Queens Highway next to GB Muffler. To order, call 441-4033.
And we're back. Now, in this same budget report that the Prime Minister gave, there was something interesting that he said they're going to look into, and that's the sugar tax. Now, I've heard of plenty of taxes in the world, and apparently some countries are doing it and are very successful at it. The sugar tax is all the things that ain't good for you, what we like to eat, they can put into a higher tax bracket to either keep us away from it, to make us more healthier, more better, more vibrant Bahamians, and to make a little bit extra more money. Now, what is it going to be? If the government going to make more money because we love these sugary snacks and food and no good stuff, or are we going to get healthy? How you think this new tax can work out?
I think it's the former. I think it's just to make more money because the things that we like, we'll pay more money for it. We're not gonna stop liking it because the price went up. You didn't stop liking driving when gas prices went up the other day, right? You need to drive. So you like things. We like go to Miami. They raise the ticket as high as they want. You're gonna find more ways by hook or crook. If you like it enough, you're gonna get there. So I think this will only mean more taxes on the people. It's not going to discourage anyone. If you really cared about people being healthy, if anything, you'll find ways to ban certain products, or there's other ways to try to get people off of things than raising the price. We're not gonna stop eating certain foods and stuff unless you really can't afford it. But that's not a deterrent. You still like it. When you get your money, you're gonna buy it. You're gonna buy substitutes, but I don't see it. And then if you remove those, are you making anything else cheaper?
You said ban. Ban is a serious word.
Yep.
Can you really ban? I like Captain Crunch, especially Captain Crunch berries.
Yep.
Where in the world I'm supposed to be eating it, but I like it. You can let me say you can. Should you be able to put a ban on Captain Crunch berries because it's too sugary and ain't no good for you, cause bad health, give you diabetes, all this other stuff? You now picking to me. Yeah. What you want. Because I can give you a million things, because when they drop on bread basket items, they throw corned beef in that. How in God's green like corned beef? Now, I still don't know what corned beef made of. I don't know if it's corn or if it's beef. I don't know what it's made of, but I know when I open it, it don't look like nothing I have ever seen or saw anywhere in my life before. So how you could let's go on that ban portion of it.
Well, we ban drugs. We ban the good thing about government, they can pretty much do what they want. We call it a democracy, right? But if you get a group of people that win the government, you can pretty much pass any law that you want. So you want to outlaw, and we've seen it done. We've seen the minutes government lock everyone inside and do all, right? So government can do pretty much anything that they want. And so if they really want to ban certain food, they can do it. I think the problem with any type of tax, the only thing that Bahamians share when they hear you're increasing something is the cost of living is going up, right? My wages didn't go up. There's no benefit or comfort to me to tell me, oh, well, I'm doing this for your good, like a little child, right? We're trying to get you off of this, so we raise the price. No, you raise the price because I like it, and you're gonna make more money because I'm gonna pay more money for these things that I like. So that's not what about more public awareness, more education, more different things to get people off of certain things, sweets. That might be the last of our. I mean, people like sweets, and I think you can find it. That's the last. That's not a good reason. To me, it's just brainwashing. It's just putting a twist on a nice way to try to get some sort of hand clap or not to get the pushback for raising the taxes on certain items. So don't tell me it's good for me. I'm doing it. I'm doing it for your good. No, you're doing it because you want money. You actually went and look and see how much we're spending on this and say, boy, if we go up a little bit more, we could, because the government, truth is the government looking for money, right? So the government isn't looking to lose money now by people not buying these things anymore. And they're definitely not trying to reduce revenue. So if the idea is, okay, since we raise it now, they're not going to buy this no more, and we're going to lose all this money, that's not, I guarantee you that's not the effect they're going for. They're looking to increase that revenue because you're going to still buy it, and then we're going to make extra money on it.
I find it's quite strange that the government would creep to this level that sweets, because some people got candy stores. So what we can turn, candies can turn into the new drugs that we can be pushing it on the corners. We can be have candy drugs, candy shops and whatever in the back of in the back of the place, so you could illegally buy a half bag of peppermints and all these other stuff. To me, a lot of it's a stretch.
Yeah. I thought when I heard the sugar tax, I thought they were talking about for sugar daddies or something.
No. There's plenty of them get locked up. They can't do that.
I thought they were trying to reduce some of that going on, but
no, that ain't gonna happen. Ain't no way that can happen. But we're gonna see how that turns out. We're gonna take another commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Where you going, buddy?
To go buy these tickets for the party tonight.
Why this boy so dumb?
Tickets242.com.
You know how hard it is?
They sell tickets for parties, concerts, plays, sporting events, everything.
You know how expensive bus is?
Well, if you just buy the tickets online, they could just send you it in the email. Then you could just print it off.
You know how strong mosquitoes is?
Or you could go to the box office downtown at the Genesis Street Gear.
You ain't scared of Joneses, eh?
Talk every Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on the Superior Talk YouTube channel.
And we're back. All the listeners and YouTubers out there, I just want you to subscribe and like. If you like the show, trust me, we're here to give you the information that we feel that people out there need and want. So, like I said, remember to subscribe and like to the show. Now, George, part of the show with your thing, you can like the NBA championship. From we talked last time, it was I can tell you my heart with Miami, but my head telling me Denver. I just can't see it. And now we are a 1-1. Miami did it again. I don't know how they do it. They did it again. But as little talent as they have, the heart is just so big. They refuse to go down. I don't know what to say. Now, I still, and you could say what you have to say. I still feel Denver can carry it, but now I feel beginning 7. I thought Miami's getting 1 game. That's my first prediction. My first prediction was Denver in 5. Miami will get 1, and Denver will close up everything else. But now that I see Miami making this move, pushing hard, I think it's going 7, but I still going in 7 Denver. What you say?
First off, I'm not enjoying the NBA championships. I actually switched off after the Lakers lost the other day. So I do my work with the game playing in the back. And when I hear the crowd go silent in Denver, I know Miami is doing something good. So I go to the TV and I watch a little bit.
No, you ain't. You got to be a real basketball. You got to take the bitter with the sweet.
Pardon?
You got to take the bitter with the sweet.
No. I don't give myself stress. I avoid that. Right. So like you, I and being a Bahamian, and a former Miami Heat fan when LeBron was there, of course. Mm-hmm. I support the Heat, and I expect. Well, I thought Denver would probably win too because they're blowing up, but I think the Heat has a really good chance to win the finals. I think they will win the finals now. Unlike you who now think it's going to 7. We have Nick Wright like to say this thing about the basketball gods are on their sides. Can't you see it? But I don't believe in a basketball god, but it just looks like fate. Like this is gonna be the Cinderella year that the Miami Heat has defied all. And you call the guys, you should repent and bite your tongue. You said these fellas with no talent you don't have no talent and end up in the NBA finals, right? This is the team that beat Giannis, the former champion, sent them home packing, right? Almost swept them. Almost swept Boston. Boston came back, but they beat a very good Boston team, a very good Milwaukee team. Denver is not necessarily any better than those two teams that they just bought. The records were pretty similar in the regular season between them. I don't know who finished with the best record, but Denver is not that much a superior team. Denver is not a dynasty. Denver is not Golden State Warriors. Denver is in an unfamiliar charted territory, and losing that one game, it'll be they haven't lost in a little while. It'll be good to see how they react and come back, especially going on the road now, because they're someplace that they've never been. And so pressure bursts pipe. Now this is the time that pressure could start to creep in because, again, they are favored to win. The Heat are favored to lose as they were favored, they were expected to lose the other two series. And like Jimmy Butler said, they have I don't give a damn type of attitude. That's how the Heat playing. They don't have nothing to lose. They're not supposed to be here, but they have a chip on their shoulder. They want to win. Denver don't have a chip on their shoulder. They had a bit of a chip against the Lakers. But right now, they just have arrogance. They just feel as if, like that Memphis team last year. Oh, we good. We this and that. And you haven't won anything yet. So beating the Lakers wasn't the prize. I hope they don't think because they won the Lakers that they beat the Lakers that Memphis, the Heat was going to come in there and just roll over and play dead, because these guys to this point, they have Eric Spoelstra, they have Pat Riley, them who, been around the game for a very long time. They have to play some loud music around their hotel room in the night in Miami, right? So they can feel a championship in a year that they should never have even been this far. And so I think the conditions are right. I think the pressure begins to mount on Denver, particularly if the Heat wins the next game or wins another game in Miami. I think Denver will be in some serious problem. They better win game 3. Because if they lose game 3, one, now the media is going to switch, because you know how the media flip-flops. Now it's going to be, oh boy, Miami's going to pull this off. And now Denver is thinking, Jokic is the only one that I would bet house money on to be consistent during that period if Denver starts to slide, because he just built different. He's in the make, like nothing really bothers him. But some of them other dudes, I don't really trust them. Like that Michael Porter dude, and some like I can see them getting smaller if this pressure start to come on, because they're not built for this. And this being their first time even reaching it this far, they're probably going to say, well, we'll get them next, like Boston did. Boston had this mentality when Golden say, oh, we'll do it next year. We'll come back. And you see how that turned out for them.
George, you sound, I ain't gonna lie, you sound a little bitter because Denver beat LA.
No.
To me, it don't matter who Denver had to play. You was going with them.
Yeah.
And if Denver had to play Tabernacle, or Tabernacle could beat them. I know, because Denver ain't never been there, and they ain't never this and that, and la la la. It don't the experience and well, I wouldn't say the experience, the talent. And I misquote. Denver is more talented than Miami. I wouldn't say Miami have no talent. Denver has more talent as a team collectively. So therefore, that's why I went with Denver, and this is why I still going with Denver.
Do they? I don't know that to say that they have more talent, unless you count Jokic twice, and right, like they have a superior player who is the best player on the court, and Jokic a double MVP.
But I know you double LeBron. LeBron is the best player. That's all that's needed.
They have that, but pound for pound, like when you match up, I mean, the Heat has a good bench. All these players who they call no names, and they might not be no names, but if you add up their stats throughout the playoffs against anyone on Denver, they would match up comparatively, if not better. Like these guys are shooting, Like who they got shooting better, who could shoot better threes than Duncan Robinson and these dudes who's fishing right now. I mean, Martin has been consistent. So I wouldn't say they have probably the best two players on the court. If you count Murray, when he's Murray is Murray, right? But outside of that, it's fair game. You have Jimmy Butler, who is probably the equivalent of Murray. They don't have no one that's equivalent of Jokic. But after that, you have a bunch of players that's interchangeable. It's pretty fairly matched, and particularly because none of them really have any championship experience. So it becomes pretty much after that. So the advantage then goes to the coaching. You have the coaching will be more important in this series, and just fellas rising to pressure. And like I said, the Heat, they don't seem to know what pressure is. They just come out and play. Like when they could be up 3, down 3, and they play the same. Like they just don't go away. And that's why I like their tenacity. I think if anyone would crack more first under pressure, it will be Denver. They can prove me wrong. Jokic will have to turn in them all-star numbers every game. He's going to need his triple doubles. He's going to need to really carry that team because Miami isn't going to roll over. And if Miami gets some momentum going, I fear that Denver may get caught up in this, just playing a bit reckless and not. But I liked Denver until they started getting arrogant with it. When tell their coach and stuff really start showing.
Why is it arrogant?
They start showing this arrogance.
No.
Yeah.
I was a better team. I played better. Y'all start slapping up about the Lakers all day. And y'all be talk about us. We sweeping these fellas.
That's because it's the Lakers. You always any series with the Lakers. Any series with the Lakers or LeBron in it.
Now it was about talent with Miami, but when it was Denver who had the better talent, no, it was about the Lakers. No, don't go so.
Yeah. People were watching, and they don't realize this. People were watching their game. They needed the Lakers to make them famous, right? Like if they didn't play the Lakers, if they didn't play the Lakers or Golden State, right? No, because these guys have all the fans, right?
Come on, that's an over with. The Lakers got LeBron, and on the last 2 tours, ain't nothing else happening.
Listen, the Lakers series was the first series that anybody watched Denver play because nobody really cared about it.
Because y'all got a bunch of Laker fans. That didn't mean the Lakers had the best.
No. That's because Denver has no fans, right? We ain't talking about the Lakers fans.
That's true.
And since they beat the Lakers, and now they're in the championship, ain't nothing else on TV to watch. You got that on hockey, right? So you got to watch them play in the finals. And they got to realize, you got headliners and you got scrubs. Like nobody, like I fear that they're gonna go down even if they win. If the Heat win, because the Heat has won 3 times already, right? That will be more memorable. If Denver win, Denver could be like a Milwaukee or Toronto. Like you don't just win a championship really nowadays and become and think you're gonna get this respect. You have to you have to keep winning. You have to win for some period of time. It could be a fluke. Milwaukee won, and we don't rate Milwaukee. Like most people don't remember that. Toronto won.
You being unfair because you got too much feelings, man. You gotta let them feelings go. There's no way you could say that just based on this playoff series alone, this championship alone. Because you ain't set up with Milwaukee, you ain't set up with Toronto when they won, and Toronto when they won under all kind of things, all kind of injuries and all kind of things.
They beat Golden State too, and they were playing Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, so that looked more impressive.
Come on, you know them fellas them was hurt.
I don't care. If you beat
see, now the truth coming up.
I don't care. They beat a dynasty team. They beat a team that had won twice in a row. They beat a championship team. Yeah. If Denver beats Jimmy Butler and them, right, to win the championship, who they supposed? I mean, it's just going to be one of them years that
And anyway, we got to take a commercial break. And we'll be right back.
The Rotary Club of Sunrise presents their 4th annual Cigar Night, June 17th at 7 p.m. This event is at Sir Charles Hayward Yacht Club. Ticket prices are $100 inclusive of a free drink and food. Sold at Signature Choices located downtown. It's a night you don't want to miss.
Is this a party or what?
Food, dancing, prizes, and music by MLD Productions. Cigar Night by the Rotary Club of Sunrise. Sponsored by R&R Cigars.
And we're back. Today we are going to start, this month we're going to start our hurricane season month. And this is a very important month for us, especially us in this part of the world today. And each week we're going to take a certain portion of how we prepare, how we go through our hurricane season, what happened to us in the past, how we can prevent it, how we can make our hurricane season the best and most best way for us to go through the season. Tonight, we have with us, as you can see, a guest in the house. This don't happen much, but we have a guest in the house tonight, Mr. Deshaun Smith of Spartan Builders. Mr. Smith, how are you?
Good, sir. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. One of the first questions we always like to ask with hurricane, especially with yourself, you had to go through it. How did you bear through the hurricane season with the last one, I should say, with Dorian?
Well, Dorian, I was all prepared because of the nature of the business. We usually have clients that we have to prepare for, so usually I take care of home before I get into that. We move relatively quickly. When hurricane season is in, we monitor the tropics fairly regularly. So weekly, if there's an active storm out there, system out there, usually have an update done in office probably every 2 days. So we're usually timed well in terms of preparing, but I had left home to do some rescues, and during the course of that, my family had to evacuate because the flood water actually got inland to where we're at.
Wow, that's a lot of persons who are on, and we're talking about Grand Bahama right now for those out there in YouTube land. A lot of us, the whole half of the island was basically underwater. For those who don't know, this is during Hurricane Dorian. We have since passed then, and now we are moving on, and we're in the rebuilding stage. Mr. Smith, one of the questions I wanted, how many homes do you think were destroyed during Dorian, Hurricane Dorian?
From what I've seen, posted by the government, somewhere around 13,000 between Grand Bahama and Abaco.
Wow. Now, with these homes, we would say that these are well-structured homes because our building codes are up to standards.
I think for the region, we probably set the standard. I think a lot of people don't know this, but if you're familiar and remember Hurricane Andrew, South Florida was level. Mm-hmm. So, back then, hurricane products and standards didn't exist pre-Andrew. So a lot of the homes in South Florida were flattened. I mean, I was young at the time, but I was coming from South America, Central America on a flight, and I was a kid. But I looked down and I saw it looked like a giant just kind of walked on buildings and crushed it. I mean, roofs were flat on the ground. So one of the things that their architects did was come here to see why, homes in the Bahamas, fared so well relatively compared to what had happened in South Florida. So our building codes are pretty strong when it comes to, the level of storm that we build for.
Okay, speaking of building codes, like you said, they are pretty strong. As a builder, as a young man in this profession, would you change anything about our building codes? Do you think we need to do anything different?
No, I mean, I think our building codes are satisfactory. They hold up. I think if there's any improvement, it's probably shifting to mandatory hurricane impact windows and doors and Miami-Dade standard. So a lot of the products that people have in the house, the Chinese products, I mean, they're garbage when it comes to actual hurricane-rated products. I mean, I come from that space, so I'm familiar with the performance of it. I had clients that would come to me with these doors, and I say, the glass is good, but the frame is garbage. And I literally had clients after Dorian had like the glass intact on their floor, and the frame just there dangling. like I mentioned, since Andrew, there's been a lot of manufacturing in South Florida and the larger US in terms of hurricane-rated products. So you now have hurricane-rated front doors, windows, sliding doors, garage doors, things that didn't happen before. What I saw in Hurricane Matthew, where it was more of a wind event, is homes that are older and not maintained. You know, after 25, 30 years, your house needs maintenance, especially the roof. And so you see where people don't do any maintenance. There's damage or rotted wood. Once the wind gets under there, the pressure builds up and it goes. In Dorian, I mean, it was a wind event, a water event where we had such a huge surge inland. I don't think our codes could do anything from that. I mean, we're not in the Jefferson area where we could hit a button and pump our house up. I mean, we could, but the cost of that is astronomical. I think, given what's happening, climate change or not, cost is a factor with constructing homes.
Yeah, so I want to touch on that because me building a home 10 years ago compared to building one now, how much of an increase is that actually, if I want to build it right, up to code, especially up to hurricane standard codes, how much difference now I have to pay?
If back then we were at $100 a square foot, we're probably somewhere between $190, $200 a square foot now.
Wow.
So it's been a significant increase. I mean, since COVID, you watch plywood pre-COVID, pre-Dorian around $22 a square foot. It went to a height of $75 a square foot, per board. And right now, a sheet of plywood is somewhere around $44 to $52 per board. I mean, that's a significant jump. You instantly see the impact. And lumber as a whole, everything has pretty much gone up in terms of materials.
So do you feel that persons are trying to, I would like to say, cheapen the way they build because things have gone up so much? But us being in this hurricane zone, will that be best for them to do? Or how do you motivate or prescribe to them, hey, I know you want to get the Chinese stuff, but right now I don't advise for it because...
That's a two-sided question for me. The reputation and work that we do, we don't really do that kind of work, Fortunate to have clients that understand and appreciate what we offer, and they want somebody trusted to guide them right so they don't have to do it twice. I don't knock people for taking that approach and doing what they have to do. I tend to, even where Spartan is involved with some of these projects or not, I like to give people the information so at least they understand what they're getting, because some people, they're not well informed on what they're getting. And so it's hard to take a shortcut when you don't understand the basis of, the fundamentals of behind what you're doing. And so I don't think that there'll be a structural issue because, especially if you're in Freeport and even as a whole, relatively in the Bahamas, having inspections in our building code, it keeps you intact. And so as long as you make sure that if you're doing your work or somebody's doing your work, that the relevant inspections are done, I think you'll have a fairly safe structure, so to speak.
I see a lot of homes now being built on stilts. How effective is that really when it comes to hurricane, the homes on stilts?
It depends on where you are. Obviously, if you're in Brahman and Dobasang area, it's moderately effective. There's structures out there that's 8-10 foot up high and still had effects of impact of water into the building. So, the question my dad always says is how high is high enough? You don't know. Every storm that we have challenges in a different way.
Wow. So
I don't think you could anticipate Mother Nature. It's like you might factor one thing and then another thing comes. We learn a new lesson.
Yeah, because Dorian really changed the whole way we look at hurricane and preparing for hurricanes.
Definitely. There's things you didn't think you needed to prep. People say put your documents in a bag and stuff like that, but there's so much more that you think about now when you think about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 feet of water in your house. One of the scariest things that I see, because I was in Houston when they had a think it was back in 2001, they had a tropical depression, Allison, and it pretty much flooded half of the city. And I watched people just like Katrina go inside their roof space. And if you have no strategy to get out, I mean, I just never advise that, because you don't know where the water's going to stop.
I always have a problem with that because I always say those poor people, when they get up to the roof and the water starts rising, what then? Where do we go? How do we go? Have you ever built anything when someone comes to you and say, okay, if this happens, I want a latch or I want somehow, some way to escape from my roof?
People have asked me about that, but a good latch that's going to hold up, that's not going to give you issues with leaking and damage in a storm, can cost you probably a better part of $10,000 before you install it. So the cost again is an impact. I would say that for most of Grand Bahama and Abaco now, we've been challenged in so much ways that you have an idea of, there was areas that we mightn't have considered evacuation zones, but now you need to find somebody, family, friends that's in an area where you could ride a storm in a much more safe environment. I mean, I'm probably 4 or 5 miles from the northern shore, and yet I still had water in my house.
So, question, how many homes do you think have been repaired on Grand Bahama?
I would say 75%, based on the numbers I've seen and driving around what I see. I mean, there's still a lot of structures that hasn't been touched, that's sitting there, whether people were underinsured or not insured at all, or just don't want to spend the money. I mean, I know people personally who, married couple and the wife just doesn't want to go back. So it's a variety of scenarios, but we still have a lot of structures out there that's just pretty much in the next 5 years is going to be a major eyesore. I mean, they are already, but we're going to have to figure out collectively what you're going to do with all these structures.
Not to stray, but we have here on the island a lot of structures, like you say, that are eyesore, but we're not getting rid of them. We're not demolishing them, because I heard one of the goals, or what they need to do, is the building has to be structurally unsound for them to knock down the building.
Yeah, and even beyond that, you can't just go around, knocking down private property. So I mean, there's a legal issue there. Who's going to fund the cost, and to litigate that many buildings. The Port Authority as the leading agent in Freeport, that's still a challenging situation to tackle. And having clients who fall in that category, I see that they reach out to them trying to ask them, like, what are you going to do with your structure? Because it's an eyesore. And I mean, who wants to go around, say there's 2,000 houses left? Who's going to pay to bulldoze 2,000 houses? I mean, hauling and demolition, that's
a lot.
It's not a small ticket item.
No, not at all. George, do you have any questions for Mr. Smith?
Good to see Mr. Smith. Sean.
Likewise.
Yeah, and Deshaun did a lot of things in relation to that storm, including rescues. And I'm happy. I saw he was recognized for his participation in those rescues. So you have a true hero, national hero, in front of you.
Thank you.
But Deshaun, so I followed all the things that you said in terms of construction, the preparedness for another storm. It sounds like most persons would be prepared, particularly those who have rebuilt. How many persons do you think, I guess, would be compromised? Those who haven't taken necessary precautions. I mean, Grand Bahama has been fortunate since Dorian. I don't think you had a serious storm since then. But what do you think is the, I guess, the state of preparedness, and how much do you think the island may still be compromised? People may be still compromised from the last storm, who may not have had the monies to repair or to upgrade or to react to the storm.
In terms of overall structures, I would say somewhere around maybe 10-15%. I mean, if you ever take a flight in or out of Grand Bahama, you could still see the tops on the roof. You know, I mean, you look around and your eyes sometimes pop open just seeing blue tarp, but putting blue tarp just all over the place. You know, and tarp is not designed to be a roof covering. I mean, it's a temporary situation while you repair a roof. I mean, it gets brittle very quickly, and obviously in high winds, that thing is going to just be a parachute in, you know, little to no time.
Any other questions, George?
No, but it definitely seems like with hurricane season coming back up again, it would be good if, based on what you said, if there are these persons that are compromised, that the government, the port, whoever should be doing more to ensure that these things are done. Because, like you said, with climate change and all these things, you can't take it for granted that you will have in our lifetime or in, you know, another catastrophic storm like a Dorian. I know years have gone past, you have a bad storm, you think, well, we're probably good for another 20 years. But it just seems as if these things are more frequent. And the chances now of having a bad storm that can do damage is higher. And these things should take should be more priority to the powers that be to assist those who probably can't assist, you know, help themselves.
I agree, but I would say on that point, you know, if you own a house or residence, I mean, obviously make sure look at having insurance in place. No matter how the challenge is, because, you know, finding 50, 60, 100,000 to repair structures, it's a big blow, you know, it could knock you out. And then the other thing I would say is after the storm, you know, one of the things that I saw that was really kind of, you know, misinformed by most people as, you know, you had 2, 3, 4 foot of flooding in your house, and people are there like a week, 2 weeks later. I'm doing assessments, and they're in there living with their kids, and mold in drywall that's been saturated in water is going to set in very quickly. And I'm like, I could smell it. I'm like, this is not safe. One of the first things I did, like the day after the storm, was I got my crew in and I started gutting, and you know, the insurance adjuster got to my house. She's like, why doesn't everybody else do this? And people think that they need to see it, and that's you could prove that the water was at that level. You know, you're not going to start tearing that down for no reason. But the first thing I did was rip out everywhere that was wet, everything that was wet.
So do you think we need to do some type of teaching, some type of way to get persons more up to date, and especially when it comes to building? Because we don't, like, Dorian was a I hope once in a lifetime type of thing. Yeah. But going forward, when these type of things happen, even if you have roof leaking from your roof and the water gets in, there are certain things that you know shouldn't be. We need an education platform somehow, some way, that the persons who own these homes can know it. And it's just not just to say, well, for Spartans to make money or any construction company, it's for your health.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, we put so much effort into, you know, pre-storm preparation, but post-storm, there's really no information out there to guide people on what happens in the, right, you know, besides the go to a shelter or you could get help displaced. I mean, people usually not sure what the next steps are, and I think that that's definitely an area where we need to do a lot more awareness and education.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Deshaun. It was a pleasure having you here. To YouTube land, like I was saying before, we're going into hurricane season in the show, and we're gonna have all types of persons connected with hurricanes. So I want you all to stay tuned. Remember to subscribe and like, and we'll be right back.
Talk every Tuesday at 6 p.m. only on the Superior Talk YouTube channel.
Okay, and we're back. Okay. George, everything's good with you?
Yep.
Okay, let's go back into the show and the favorite part of my show, the Bungie of the Day. unfortunately, I'll have to be one of the victims for the Bungie of the day because I have just learned that y'all know the song, Shaggy song, It Wasn't Me. Everybody out there saying, hey, this song is about guy cheating. That's all it about, it teaching you how to cheat, how to act ignorant to the point talking about it wasn't you, woman that see you and everything. And Shaggy actually came out and he said the song isn't about that. The song is about them telling a tale, and at the end, they telling the guy who got caught to stop cheating. So it's actually an anti-cheating song. But I know y'all get caught up with all that. It wasn't me and all of that. Because go to the end. I want everybody, I challenge everybody out there. Go to the end of the song, and I want you all to listen. And he says to him, I want to tell you how the story is, la, 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 la. All the things that you're saying, you're completely lost. And he says this to the end with Shaggy. I know y'all ain't listening, but it's true. Men are not out there cheating. And this song doesn't give us right to cheat because the song is about not cheating, doing the right thing. So, all of those out there who was telling me it wasn't me, stop it. It don't make no sense. The song ain't about that. Stop bringing Shaggy down on that. Shaggy's a good man. He never meant for people to use that song in the wrong way. And for all who did it, y'all are the bungies of the day. You say about that, George?
Hey, you just educated me. So
yes,
yeah. I have to go back to listen to No Scrubs and some other songs now.
No. They saying exactly what they want to say. Yeah, that one ain't changing. But anyway, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Remember, subscribe and like the show, and we'll see you next week.